you want to catch more carp this winter, here are my 5 top tips. Location. Like any time of the year, you have more chance of catching a fish with a higher stock lake. Fish like to sit in the deeper water in winter, so what I'll find out the shallower side of the lake, the deeper parts of the lake, and I'd fish the deeper bit as there's more warmth for the fish. But if the lake has a smooth bottom with the same depth all around, the fish usually like to sit where there's some sort of snag or a bit of cover, so they're hiding away. Second tip is bait. Now the fish don't like to feed as much in the winter as their metabolism is a lot lower than usual. So what I like to do is I fish solid bags most of the year actually, not just winter, as it allows for a perfect presentation with a small mouthful of bait so the carp can dive down on. Although many like to go for a pop-up approach in winter, as there could be in cases a lot of debris on the lake bottom from things like leaves or even weed that has died off. Now one bait that comes into his own in the winter is naturals, and if the lake you fish allows them, it's such a plus. But if you want the best bait to catch carp this winter, head over to Parker Baits and use code J for 10% off. It's feeding spells. Now this is one of my top tips when fishing in the winter, as you need to be ready for anything. The fish like to move around together, meaning that if you get one fish, you should unhook the fish safely and get the rod straight back out. Now I know most of you do this all year round, but in the winter it's even more important as the feeding spells can be very, very small. Now my 4th tip is keeping warm. Now this is so important in winter, as if you get cold, you sort of take your attention off the fishing and you try and more focus on trying to get warm. Now make sure you wear as many layers in the winter, ensuring that you make the most out of your session. But remember, if you're using a bivvy heater or stove, make sure you have a good airflow in the bivvy. But if you want some of the most warm clothing in the game, head over to Reed's Comforts and use code J for 10% off. Now my last tip is preparation, and this is one of the most key things in winter. Now I don't mean rigs, baits, etc. I mean sort of pre-baiting, and if your lake you're fishing allows this, it's definitely a plus. Now I don't mean kilos and kilos of bait, I mean just a handful or two every time you go, and this can be a great winter tactic as you get the fish confidently feeding on your spot, and it's going to give you the maximum chance of getting a fish that session.